R&B diva A'ngela Winbush is up next. Let's talk. What's up, everybody out there? How you doing? Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'm talking about R&B diva A'ngela Winbush. I just finished talking about her Sharp album, her debut album, Sharp, and now I get to talk about the real thing. That's right. So we're talking about the real thing over here. Yes, I don't want to open it up because, as you can see, if I open it up, it's going to rip up, and I don't want to do that. No, we're not going to do that. But anyway, A'ngela Winbush, the real thing. Yes, that's right. So let's hop right into it. Hey, A'ngela Winbush is definitely, making a lot of headway with this album, The Real Thing. Of course, she splits from Renee and Angela. Now she has the album Sharp. It does well for her. It's nominated at the Soul Train Music Awards for Song of the Year and Album of the Year. So congratulations to her. Of course, she did not win those awards. If you recall, that year she's in some categories with artists like, was it Janet Jackson? Was it Whitney Houston? She was in the same category with, but that goes to prove to show how they were definitely trying to promote this diva, over there for them to put her in those categories and get her nominated in those categories. That means they were definitely serious about making A'ngela Winbush a contender, like a diva of all divas, like, it's just what it is, And of course, she goes on to show up on, if I'm not mistaken, I think that she ends up getting producer credits or associate producer credit for Stephanie Mills' 1988 single with Robert Brookins single with Stephanie Mills, Where Is the Love? I think she was also an associate producer on that song. And then, of course, she ends up, looks like she's getting a lot of work over there at MCA Records because Robert Brookins is on MCA Records. Then she works with Sheena East on MCA Records, Stephanie Mills on MCA Records. Then she worked with Body on MCA Records. Then she works with the guy by the name of George Pettis on MCA Records. So she's definitely over at MCA Records getting a lot of production work over there. And of course, she ends up receiving a production deal with MCA Records and Atlantic Records. So it's what it is with that. Now, when I was talking about other R&B divas such as Terry Ellis, and it's just so interesting. This is not my intent, but it looks like it just flows so well. That's why I just like the authenticity over here, because I'm not making any connection until, I start to talk about it. I was just talking about Terry Ellis and how difficult it is to come from a group to release a solo album, and then we kind of put you in a box. Now I'm thinking about A'ngela Winbush and what I was saying about her Sharp album, and how I think the strong singles on the album or the strong songs on the Sharp album are the songs that are on the Quiet Storm side. Now, if in fact that is true, and let's just say they did that, they released Angel, then No One Has Ever Cared Like You, You Had a Good Girl, and Hello Beloved. Let's just say that happened. Then what we would see is A'ngela Winbush being put in a box as far as what we're expecting from A'ngela Winbush is this quiet storm type of singer where, she does well with ballads, if you will, and she's putting that 4-octave range she had to maximum use, during those songs. And for me, No One Has Ever Cared is the strongest single to me on that album, even though we know it was released, Angel was released and got the number one spot for 2 weeks in a row. But you just never know what a song like No One Has Ever Cared Like You, what it could have done if they had released it right after Angel. Who knows? She would probably been back at number one again, and this time more weeks at number one than, Angel was. But for whatever reason, the record companies looked like they wanted to release the It's the Real Thing as the lead single. And in doing that, what it looks like is A'ngela Winbush comes out of that mode of just being strong with doing ballads. Now, I know what some of you all probably would say, well, Run to Me was number 4 on the R&B charts, and C'est Toi issue hovered around the top 40 on the R&B charts, so it looks like we were okay with her doing that. But some people will also argue with that those singles, even though Run to Me did well and C'est Toi issue hovered around the top 40, the strongest singles from the album probably would have been Angel as well as Hello Beloved, and that maybe she's not so much of what we would consider this up-tempo diva, up-tempo singer, so to speak, even though we know songs like I'll Be Good was, number 4 on the R&B charts, and then it was top 40 on the pop charts. So, of course, we know she can really do well with these up-tempo songs, but I'm talking about now her as a solo artist. So it looks like, for whatever reason, the record company felt like It's the Real Thing was the strongest single on the album, and they released it. And what we get from that is a number 2 R&B hit. Now, I could be mistaken about this, but, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the single went to number 2 as far as rotation is concerned, spins, radio play. But I think the single went to number 1 for sales. It was held out of the number 1 spot because it was the song was competing with Luther Vandross's Here and Now, who kept her from being at the number 1 spot with the song, with her single It's the Real Thing. Now, if you listen to other critics, music critics during this time, and any reviews on the Real Thing album, you will see that some music critics says that this is A'ngela Winbush's most focused work. Like, she's very focused on this project. Well, now that I think about it, I beg to differ. I think she was focused on the Sharp album, and I think she was focused on the Real Thing album. I just think that what we get is a different sound. And so therefore, what may look like it was forced, with her, looks like she was, had some Prince influence, some Michael Jackson influence, some Marvin Gaye influence on the Sharp album. And it looks like she was really and truly trying to force it. This time around, it looks like she's not trying to do any of that. She is definitely focusing now on presenting the song, and structuring the songs. And I think her approach now is, I don't have anything to prove. I've proven it already. So now let me just go and do what it is that I know I can do. So to me, maybe what we feel like is her most focused work is the fact that she doesn't have to approach it with such a sheer determination, and she's not under pressure for anything other than, hey, let me just make sure I can get these hit songs. So now I think that's where she's focusing on with this album. It looks as if now I need to focus on making this album a hit record for herself. And so that's what it looks like it should have been. This album should have definitely been A'ngela Winbush's platinum album. It should have been. And I don't know, again, why. Just like I said with the Sharp album, I'm going to say with the Real Thing album. I just don't get why this album was not promoted the way it should have been promoted. I know what you're saying, and I agree with you. One thing that I really and truly respect when it came down to Polygram Records, it really looked like once they found out that she was, definitely played a important part within the Renee and Angela duo, and she proved herself. It looks like the record companies were pretty much behind her at that moment in time, because it looks like they had a formula that worked. They released 3 singles, 3 videos, and then they released a 4th single, from the Sharp album. They say it was the same approach with the Real Thing. 3 singles, 3 videos, and then the 4th single they released, and it looks like they were just pretty much working the same formula for her. But it looks like they just could not cross her over. So with songs like Run to Me, that was remixed, C'est Toi You was remixed, a song like No More Tears was remixed, kind of watered down, if you will. I definitely like the song, the club version of No More Tears. I do. But I also like the album version of No More Tears, and I like it better than the video version of No More Tears. But hey, I still play both of them. It's just what it is. But that just shows that the record company really was trying to do what they could do in order to cross her over, and it just didn't happen. And I think it was because somebody somewhere was not pushing the issue with her, with crossing her over. And it looks as if, hey, it's what it is. Management was also not, really pushing her career to, expand as well. I'm understanding what I'm gathering at this moment in time. This is just me. I recall reading some reports, and you guys let me know out there. I know that A'ngela Winbush wanted to work with artists such as Willie Nelson and Barbra Streisand, and it looked like it didn't happen. But now, if you read a review of Sheena Easton's album, The Lover in Me, A'ngela Winbush produced a song on that album in 1988 called Without You. If you listen or read the reviews for Sheena Easton's album, there was one critic that said the song Without You streamed Streisand, which lets me know that A'ngela Winbush definitely wanted to work with Barbra Streisand, and maybe the song Without You could have possibly been a song that was presented to Barbra Streisand, and it just didn't happen. Or maybe she wanted to work with Barbra Streisand, but saw that she had the opportunity to work with Sheena Easton and maybe tailored the song more like a Barbra in a style that fit Barbra Streisand. So what I'm saying is she definitely wanted to work with, pop singers, if you will, and it looked like she could have done a great job. It was just given the opportunity and somebody pretty much assisting with knocking down those doors. It looked like it definitely could have worked for her. I also recall now, and I'm not quite sure why it didn't happen, but she worked with Gladys Knight, but I don't recall anything materializing with Gladys Knight. But, there are some publications out there that has her, working with Gladys Knight, but up under what kind of what she did with Gladys Knight, I'm not quite sure, because I don't recall any of Gladys Knight music being released in which she worked with her. Gladys Knight did release the album what is it called? Is a Good Woman or something, had the song on it called Men. That was a big hit for her back in the day on MCA Records. But I don't think A'ngela Winbush appeared on that album as well. But she could have possibly, recorded music with Gladys Knight, but maybe it just didn't make the final cut. I'm not sure. You guys let me know, because I also recall there was reports of doing this time in A'ngela Winbush's career where she was also slated to work with Shaka Khan, but nothing materialized with Shaka Khan. So these R&B divas that we're talking about right now are some heavy hitters. And again, it looks like, that was probably a whole nother level as far as working with these R&B divas. So with someone like a Sheena Easton or Stephanie Mills, it is what it is. Take this with a grain of salt. Looks like they was pretty much on her, A'ngela Winbush's level, and to work with, these Patti LaBelles and Streisands and Gladys Knights, you needed someone to pretty much help you knock down those doors. But it looked like the opportunities was there, but the deal wasn't sealed. When I listen to this album and I hear songs like I've Learned to Respect the Power of Love and Please Bring Your Love Back, I'm saying to myself, like, man, what would it have been like if, in fact, Please Bring Your Love Back was the single that was released from this album? As far as the first song released, we know it was the final song released from the album, and hovered around the R&B, like maybe around the 70 mark, 70 entry on the R&B charts. And some would probably say, well, hey, because it performed like that, then maybe it wasn't the single that they should have led with. But it being the first single from the album, you would think that they would push the first single from the album. And since all of us are familiar with A'ngela Winbush's single Angel, then I would think that a song like Please Bring Your Love Back would definitely be a number one hit just right out the bat, because we were all familiar with her, performance of Angel, and we would compare her to it, especially when she's giving us definitely maximum use of that 4-octave range where she's hitting those notes at the end of Please Bring Your Love Back. Lyrically, the way I spoke about the Real Thing album, the Sharp album, with this album, I get more of, like I said, she comes off more, you get love from her, you can get spirituality from her, like I said, sometimes, you can get that smart, clever side of her. But with this album, I think that what I get from her, you either, she's probably talking about her relationship with Ron, at the time, as well as her spirituality, definitely flows throughout this album. Because when I hear songs like I've Learned to Respect the Power of Love, I'll Never Be the Same Again, Thank You Love, Lay Your Troubles Down, these songs to me are definitely like spiritual songs. When I'm hearing her say, my yoke is easy and my burdens are light, I love you like no other and I make it right. Like, to me, give me your heartaches, give me your pain. To me, that's spiritual, in nature. And that's what I get out of it, yeah. And even songs like Precious on the album, definitely I get that spiritual sense when it comes to the lyrics. And I think also too that what drew me a lot towards this album when I listened to it, because at this point in time in my life, there I am, I'm a young child, definitely, my mom has, taken me to church, and I've gotten baptized at this moment in time. And so I'm definitely, learning about my spirituality and God. And so I feel that there was a lot of references in that during the time, that I was listening to A'ngela Winbush. And I think, like I said before, her music was just a part of my life at a particular time in my life where, I was getting those connections, especially with songs like So Good, So Right, and Something in the Way You Make Me Feel by Stephanie Mills that she wrote and produced with. To me, I get a spirituality out of those songs when I listen to them. She definitely could be talking about a man or so on and so forth. But to me, I'm thinking she's, referencing God and all of that. You have the song Thank You Love on the album. And out of all the songs on the album, I would say Thank You Love would probably be my least favorite. but it will be out of the entire album. Okay, it's not that any of these songs are throwaways at all. But if I had to say a song was my least favorite, it would be "Thank You, Love." But A'ngela Winbush's "The Real Thing" is an album you can definitely hit as far as play from the beginning to the end. You can do that and not be disappointed at all with it. You know, I do know that when I would play, where is that album? Okay, I was playing this album by A'ngela Winbush. It's the Greatest Love Song album. And we were out having a barbecue or something like that over my grandparents' house one day. And so I played this album. I put this album in. And I remember people enjoying the album. They was definitely enjoying the album, but they was like, my gosh, this lady can sing. I mean, because that's, you know, when you think about all of these songs on this album, like she holds nothing back. You know, I'm just going to tell you some of the songs they put on this album. And I'm going, No One Has Ever Cared Like You. Too Good to Let Go. You Had a Good Girl. I'm the Kind of Woman. Please Bring Your Love Back. Power of Love. Like, these are songs where she is not holding back at all. So to think that you put those songs in a greatest hit compilation, you know, everybody was like, man, she that like, it's like they was like, she is definitely singing her behind off. Yeah, so it's just what it is when it comes to A'ngela Winbush. That's what you get. I guess I would talk about Ron Isley. You know, I guess I cannot talk about him without talking about, you know, her albums. And, you know, I think the duets are getting better with on her albums, you know, with Hello Beloved. You know, I almost felt like, okay, is this kind of like the Fire and Desire with them that, you know, Rick James and Tina Marie had? Are you trying to recapture Fire and Desire, you know, type vibe? I always felt that way. But then when I hear a song like Lay Your Troubles Down, a song like that definitely separated her from a lot of duet songs. I can't think of a duet song that stands out the way Lay Your Troubles Down stands out. It's just so different. Ooh, it would be, if I could compare and contrast, and I probably would do that, it would be Rochelle Farrell's and Will Downing's Nothing Has Ever Felt Like This. Those two songs falls kind of like in the same category to me now that I think about it. And that's just something out of the top of my head. But I can't think of anyone else who has a song style in a style of a duet like that. You know, it would be those two. And I think Lay Your Troubles Down would definitely be I'm not going to say it's my favorite song. I want to say It's the Real Thing is my favorite song on the album. But Lay Your Troubles Down is just so different. It's so smooth, adult, like it's sophisticated. It's just, like I said, it's one of those songs that, you know, to me, it's kind of over your head if you think about it. Like you definitely have to be a certain kind of sophisticated individual to pretty much get that song, I think, you know, because again, is it spiritual, or is it her talking about, you know, a loved one? Is it her talking about, you know, a child? You know, you could tell your child the way she approach the song. It could be a child, it could be a friend, it could be a lover, it could be a sister, it could be a brother, it could be anybody she's referencing when she's saying lay your troubles down, you know, and the way it came about. But when you see the video, it's almost if she's singing it about her man in a relationship. But, you know, like I said, she's definitely a different kind of diva, you know, and a different kind of approach when it comes to things that I really and truly admire, you know, about her. You know, and I definitely would say she is a woman that she reminds me of Betty Wright. You know, when I did my commentary on Betty Wright, and I was saying, like, you know, you get a whole lot of wisdom out of Betty Wright in her music. You know, she's like Mother Wit. You know, she has an album out called Mother Wit, but in her songs, she's always speaking to you about things, about life, and about experiences. And I think that's the same thing you get with A'ngela Winbush. You get Mother Wit from her, you know, and you get a lot of wisdom out of what she, you know, brings, you know, to her music. Oh, wow. I don't remember this album getting any kind of awards. You know, I was kind of disappointed when I didn't see her show up at the Soul Train Music Awards, you know, as far as being nominated for anything regarding this album. I thought, you know, it would happen. I was really truly rooting for her in that area, but for whatever reason, you know, she was not nominated for anything this time around with the album at all. But, you know, she worked with Debbie Allen, you know, for the video It's the Real Thing. So there was a lot of sisterhood going on. If I'm not mistaken, I think she also worked with Paula Abdul for the choreography of Run to Me. And I think she also worked with Paula Abdul for the choreography for the video No How No Way with Renee and Angela. Yeah, just a lot of things going on with the album. I think, to me, it's my favorite album. If I had to choose right now, The Real Thing is my favorite album by A'ngela Winbush, hands down. It's just my favorite. I like it a lot. It's just a very fun album to listen to, you know, and it is what it is. And I think on that note, let me make sure. Hold on, where the album, man? I want to make sure I didn't miss anything on the album. Oh, I also remember reading that there's a possibility, I'm not quite sure, that the song I'll Never Be the Same was presented to Whitney Houston. But for whatever reason, I guess Whitney Houston did not record the single for whatever reason, you know. Then when I finally did get around to listening to Whitney Houston's album, I'm Your Baby Tonight album, I was like, okay, well, she didn't record I'll Never Be the Same, but there's a song on Whitney Houston's album that is almost similar to I'll Never Be the Same, and that's Miracle, you know. So I was always said to myself, I was like, oh, well, you turned down I'll Never Be the Same, but you sung a song like Miracle, you know, which is pretty much the same as I'll Never Be the Same. I don't know. That's just me. You know how I connect the dots over here, y'all. Y'all know how I do. By now, you should. But I think that's it. Yeah, I'm at the 30-minute mark, so I think I can wrap it up here. You know, The Real Thing album. And what I don't cover here, you know, I pick it back up with the next video when I talk about A'ngela Winbush's self-titled debut album on Elektra Records. Well, you know how I do over here. You know, if you made it to this part of the commentary, I definitely would like to have you hang out and chill with me over here as we talk about R&B divas. Yes. Hit the subscribe button, the like button, the share button, the comment button, do all of that. And also remember to put your behind where your heart desires to be. Yes, I believe that. Let's do that. And whenever I leave my mother's presence, she always says to me, baby, remember, I love you, but God loves you best. I love you out there. Thank you so much for your support. And so while you're out there loving people, you better make sure you love yourself, because if you're not loving yourself, I don't know what to tell you. You know, you need to do that. But I'm looking forward to seeing you all next video. And until then, you know what to do out there. Take care of yourselves. See you next video.